This is the journey to One Africa.
Nigerian government workers will go on indefinite strike starting Tuesday to protest austerity measures despite the recent increase in wages offered by the leaders. The leaders' decision to increase wages was an attempt to appease labor unions who have expressed concern about the government's cost-cutting measures. However, unions argue that the increase is not enough to offset the negative impact of austerity. The increase in wages aim to enhance workers' pay without causing inflation, according to that the government is trying to strike a balance between addressing workers concerning and managing the country's financial situation. So that is the news that has been there, and all of us, we know. I want to hear your thoughts, guys, about, first of all, about government action, but second, as well, about this strike that possibly is going to start from tomorrow. I just want to hear your opinion, just little short.
Okay.
John, you can go.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. I think this is where I love to shine more, because it's an economic problem. You see, the reason for the strike is not increasing the wages per se. Nigeria is suffering a devaluation problem. Now, minimum wage is 30,000 naira. So if that was about eight years ago, that was about $300. That's 30,000 naira. But the problem is now, right now, at the current exchange rate, that same amount has been reduced to $30. Can you see? From $200 8 years ago, that was at 2015 or 2016, when the naira was 150 to $1. I think that was $200. To now, it's around $30.
You mean like right now the minimum wage of Nigeria is 30,000 naira? That's almost like $40 a month.
Thank you very much. That is $30 right now. So which means, and the increase is about an extra $35. That is 35,000 naira. So now the problem is not increasing the wage per se. You don't have a stable currency. That's what we're suffering right now. First of all, which is why we champion the call of Labour Party, because Nigeria has an economic problem. What do we export? 200 million people. Our export is less than $30 billion. If you can push the currency, if you can make the naira stronger, which is by producing, diversifying your economy and exporting more. Because now for us to get back to the good old days, we need at least an export of $120 billion. At least. Say too bad is too bad. About $120 billion to $200 billion. But we have a stronger, if you have a stronger currency, you beat down inflation, and you don't need to increase the minimum wage just because it will become stronger, because the money they have at their disposal will be, there will be more purchasing power, more spending power. So right now, like this, just like you are how do I put it? You are cutting out the leaf from the roots. Like you say, you want to bring down a tree, you are just removing the leaves, the branches. You want to remove a tree, you go down to the root to pull it out. That's just it. So now you are increasing wage, you are adding more wage. Let's say, for example, now tomorrow now we have a good leader, and the currency was, let's say, from right now it is 1,000 naira to $1. Let's say it appreciates to about 50 naira to $1. So which means people that are earning 70, and you've gone to increase the minimum wage. Now people that are earning about, let's say, the double of what you have, that's around 60,000 naira, will be earning about $10,000 every month. You can see how how clueless these leaders are. So what I'm saying is, the problem is not increasing wages. Nigeria has to take out. The whole of Nigeria, we have only one seaport working. We have only one, which is the one in Lagos. And if you come to Lagos, there are so many gridlocks. Apapa to linking the seaport to the mainland. So it's quite difficult to export. And if you get to the seaport, everywhere is choked up. The custom officers are taking bribe. In fact, Nigeria has the most expensive seaports in the world to bring things in. Most expensive in the whole world. In fact, people have, because we've stopped importing cars, because most times, these cars that they bring from the West, these broken cars, are shipped to African nations to resell to us. In fact, they've stopped because of the import duties. Among you bring a car in from Canada, about $2,500. You clear it for another $2,500. So which means by the time you want to sell, you are selling for $7,000. Meanwhile, in Kenya, it's quite cheaper. In South Africa, it's quite cheaper. So you can see that these elites are making the environment too toxic for people. In Nigeria, for example, Nigeria is the only country whereby you want to take something out, you want to export something, it is so difficult. There's something called AGOA, African Growth Opportunity Act. The US made it made this a platform for Africans to export to the US duty-free. Africans, the only country making use of that platform is South Africa. That's why the rand is very strong, because South Africa is the only country that has the highest export in Africa, about over $120 billion in Africa. That's why the currency is so good and it is so stable. So Nigerians don't do business. It's so difficult to take things out. In fact, once you farm your crops and you want to take it to the seaport, something that will take you 15 minutes or 30 minutes can take you 3 days or what a week. If you look at the seaport to the sea, you're going to see a lot of traffic for days, traffic for weeks. You see people park there. So, like I said, it's not about increasing the minimum wage. Because the naira will see the value again. We're looking at 2.5, because what we see right now is that Nigeria is in panic mode. People are fleeing. There's panic, and most of these leaders themselves, they don't trust the naira again. So all their stolen money, they are converting it into dollars. So they are mopping up all the dollars in the system. So that's why the currency is so weak. So would adding up increasing minimum wage solve the solution? No. My advice for the president is to get back the fuel subsidy. In fact, that's why things have gone up. Nigeria is not. We don't have much energy. We depend, and the country runs on SMEs, small and medium scale enterprise, which relies on petroleum product to run their businesses. And the problem is that they cannot get PMS at an affordable price anymore. So things are going up. In fact, it's more expensive for the farmers to bring something from the farm to the city. So that's what is making is what is causing the prices, the cost of goods to go up. So adding an extra minimum wage to the country, it's a suicide on its own, because the naira will still get weaker. We are going to around, in fact, if this man should stay in office for the next 4 years, we might hit 2.5 naira to $1. It's very, very poor. It's inevitable, because Nigeria produces nothing apart from crude oil. We sell crude oil, we import refined petroleum. So the country is not really that productive. So in my own opinion, I think it's not going to solve the case. I think it's going to have so much more problem going on from now. So thank you. I'll allow the rest to speak so it just goes around. Thank you. Yeah.
No worries at all. I appreciate, brother, for sharing that. And it's kind of weird. Even here in my country, actually, the value of dollar is keep increasing. Like the value of our currency here in Tanzania, it's very low right now. It's the highest. It has never been like, it has been like this before, but this time it has been like in the same, like $1, it's like 2,500, and it's been this like for months. And we can't find dollar. There's a shortage of dollars in the country as well here in Tanzania. Like today, even if you go to the bank and you try to exchange, you don't get dollar. It's not there. So, you know, I feel like we're going through the same thing. I'd love to hear from Niger. What is your thoughts? Niger, and then we'll go to Niger, and then we'll finish up with GP.
Yeah, so we're talking about the strikes.
Yes.
Ongoing strikes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So for people to get an understanding, those, you know, abroad and those in Africa, Nigeria had a fuel subsidy, which was supposed to help make petroleum products cheaper for the citizens. But there were people, like I was talking about scams and corruption and all these things initially in my previous talk. There were people abusing that system. So they were manipulating numbers, right? So they call them marketers. They were manipulating numbers. So if I'll give you an example, let's say they sold fuel of 50,000 barrels of petroleum from their gas stations, right? They'll go and because subsidy, the government gives you, helps you save money. They help you, your business keep going. But they'll go and put the numbers at 150 barrels that they sold. So the government will reimburse them on 150 barrels where they only sold 50,000 barrels. Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm.
So they were pocketing an extra 100,000 barrels of, you know, this is just an example. They were pocketing an extra 100,000 barrels of, you know, free money. So this was going on with the last administration, the Buhari's administration. Just people were becoming mega rich from this because they weren't selling 150,000 barrels of oil. They were only selling 50, but they were putting on the books that they're selling 150,000. So this kept going and going and going and going. So instead of that money going to fixing roads, going to building hospitals, going to education, going to things that were supposed to help the country prosper, that money was going into the pockets of the elites. So that was making Nigeria stay poor. So when Tinubu came into power, he decided to remove the fuel subsidy, but he did it very wrongly. He was supposed to go for soft landing, you know, do it little by little by little by little, but he just removed it immediately, and that just led to a whole cascade of problems in Nigeria, which is why the cost of living in Nigeria has increased, and which is why the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, which are, you know, the labor unions in Nigeria, are now wanting to go on strike to force the federal government to fix things in Nigeria. So they want one for the federal government to find a way to increase the minimum wage, which is not really the main issue, but at least it will help people to live comfortably. They want them to fix healthcare. They want them to fix education, but the government is pushing back. The government is pushing back on this. So I believe yesterday, or today, earlier today, because you're in a different time zone, they had a meeting for 4 hours, which is why I said potentially there will be a strike tomorrow. They had a meeting for 4 hours, and one of the federal government employees said that they had a good meeting and they came to an agreement with the executives of the TLC, the NLC and the TUC, which are the labor unions. They had a meeting and they had a productive outcome. So I'm not sure if the strike will still happen, because you have to understand Nigeria. When the government puts pressure on you, you have a lot of pressure. So if they can go on strike tomorrow, that would be good. But after this 4-hour meeting that they had, I know there was going to be, I can imagine, a lot of arguments, a lot of pointing fingers, and maybe a lot of bribes behind the scene. So we don't know what the outcome will be. But as of today, or maybe yesterday, I'm not sure which of the two, they had a 4-hour meeting. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. But here are the points why they're having this strike. One is increase in fuel costs, which is causing an increase in transportation costs. So even some people decide to quit their jobs because it's more expensive to go to work and leave. And when they get their pay, they don't have anything left because all the money they're spending for transportation, food, and everything to go to work and come back, go to work and come back, at the end of the month, they come back with nothing. You were just told that the minimum wage is between $30 and $40 in Nigeria. When people work like that, so what's the point of going to work when you're not making nothing at the end of the month? When after your expenses, you know what I mean? And then also the government increased the electricity tariffs in June, and on top of the fuel subsidy. So that's something else that they're also discussing. They increased the cost of electricity as well, which I believe is also stems from the fuel subsidy issue. And then they're fighting for minimum wage to increase as well. And then, like I said, the social amenities is the other thing they're fighting for: healthcare, education, and stuff like that. But that to improve in Nigeria. You can imagine, this is a national security issue. When our government, even our presidents, have to go to another country like France or UK or America to get medical procedures done. That's not safe for your leader to go to another country for healthcare issues. And not only that, most elites do the same thing too, because the system is not working. And just like I gave you an example about fuel subsidy affecting everything else, and then that money that was supposed to go to fixing Nigeria was going into the pockets of people, corruption. That money was supposed to go to things to help infrastructure, healthcare, education, and stuff like that to make Nigeria better. And then the last thing is insecurity. The last thing that these people are fighting for is insecurity in Nigeria. So they they're calling for the Nigerian government to stop kidnapping and criminalizations all over the country, to make Nigeria a safer place so people can travel, people can walk around, people can feel safe in Nigeria. Now, let me talk about why these things are happening, because I like economics. Nigeria currency is, any country's currency is dependent on how much you produce, your productivity. So Nigeria exports crude oil, and Nigeria is dependent on crude oil, right? And I've told you this before.
Yeah.
If we cannot get our refineries working in Nigeria, and we are exporting crude as a raw material, we are just extracting that oil from the sea or from the land or however we are getting it, and we are shipping it out of the country. That means that Nigeria is not creating jobs for the Nigerian people. Because if Nigeria refine that crude oil in Nigeria, that means they can create different types of jobs, not only refinery job, but different types of, it could be transportation, it could be refinery, it could be engineers. The list of people that can get employed just because it's being done within the country. I don't know if you all saw this viral video recently about this lady from Singapore that was giving a tour.
South Korea, actually. South Korea.
Okay, South Korea. My bad. In South Korea. And the lady was talking about how they take Nigerian crude oil and refine it and ship the petroleum products back to Nigeria, and everybody was laughing in the bus. And she was proud of, she was proud saying it. She was confident. And she made it, and I don't know if you all saw the second part of the video where she says they only drive that car for 10 years and they ship the cars to Nigeria for Nigerians to buy in Nigeria. And she was saying that in South Korea, they drive that car on the opposite side. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but that's what she said. Okay, she said that that they remodify the car to switch it back to the other side so Nigerians can buy it in Nigeria. They don't want to drive that car for more than 10 years. So these are the problems Nigeria is facing. We are not productive. So when you're in your economy, when you spend in an economy more than you produce, your currency will keep getting devaluated and people will be suffering. So the reason the strike is happening is because Nigeria as a government is not producing. So the currency is getting weaker and the people are suffering. So the labor unions wants to change the directions of the way things are going. So our goal is to get the government to fix Nigeria. But I don't know if Tinubu is capable of doing that. I'm still waiting to see one positive outcome from his administration for over 100 years as of now, and I've not seen one. Not a single thing. I'm hopeful. I want him to succeed because I want Nigeria to succeed, but I've not seen anything positive come out from his administration. So I'll stop here until we get to the next topic.
Yeah, appreciate Niger. Man, it's a pleasure to see to Niger. You know, Niger, I've never seen you face to face. Look at you here, man. I've always been assuming like, you know, you look like a scary guy, but man, you look cool.
Two. I've seen him once. I've seen him. I've seen to Niger before on a different live stream. Yeah.
I'm an innocent man. I'm so innocent. Yeah. It's regarding this thing, isn't it? The strike. The demand for strike right now. I don't know how I feel about strikes because I don't know whether they actually get any results. I like targeted strikes, and I like their reasoning why they want the strike. They want to go on strike, especially on the security aspect. And I think they have. My concern is that they are not as coherent as they need to be, and as targeted as they need to be. When you say you want the security resolved, what the government will tell you is that, oh, we are doing everything. We are having synergy between the different various forces, and we are trying to. In reality, they are not dealing. They are just moving the furnitures around a sinking ship. When in reality, what they should be doing is increasing the size of the security forces, and they know it because that's what Tinubu campaigned on. He campaigned on it. He was at Chatham House talking about how they want to increase the size of all the various institutions, and he talked about the military. Their target was around 1 million, to increase the size of the military to 1 million. But has he done one thing in that direction? No. And this is why, if you want to target him on security, tell him to fulfill what he promised. That this is a democracy. He promised those things. Ask him to increase the size, and that is something that almost many African countries have in common. They don't want to invest and create the size of their military that is going to actually make their nations true nations. In other words, they are not relying on other people to protect them, keeping their own nation weak. That is why they are, and that's the issue I have with them. In terms of the issues, fuel subsidy removal, floating the Nigerian currency, I think on their own, individually, you would think it was a good idea, but clearly in Nigeria, they always find a way to sabotage everything. And this goes back to what I said earlier on. They always do everything in such a way that nothing works. Even something they tell you is supposed to be good, they will ruin it for you. They will tell you they want to build a bridge, they will find a way to try to make it a hell for you. So that while we are doing all that, the whole world is leaving us behind. This is the name of the game. You see the pattern everywhere. This is Tinubu that promised us a total change of security posture, and he didn't do anything. Do you know that the Nigerian economy is depressed by almost 10%? The GDP of Nigeria, just due to insecurity alone. That is equivalent to about $50 billion worth of GDP loss. That is the most, in other words, investing in security is one of the most economical investments you could ever make. But do you see them doing that? They will never do that. Because for some reason they pretend as if they don't know what they are doing. Oh, we are stupid. We are trying to buy one helicopter here, do this. They know they need people. You can't be everywhere. A security official on Nigerian I had to do a stream this weekend because of it. He's admitted that the Nigerian security forces, 80% of them are used to secure the national assets of the country, and 20% of them is used to fight the current insecurity that you're hearing about. So it tells you that if 80% out of maybe 150,000 active personnel is being used to secure national assets like Lagos, Port Harcourt, Delta State, all these places with oil and all the rest, 80% of 150,000, that leaves about 30 to 40,000 to fight insecurity all over the country. How are you supposed to do that? It's impossible. It's an impossible task. And that is why our nations are insecure. And that same official, when they tell him what we should do to, not even an official, it's an ex-security person. When they ask him what the government should do to fix the country security, he says, we need to, get better training, and then we need to do M&E. In other words, measurement and evaluation, so to check performance. He kept repeating that. I was like, and he works in a security industry where he has to advise businesses coming to Nigeria on how to keep safe. And he made an argument on that same show that people have to invest a lot in security to even come and invest in Nigeria. That is a lot of overhead cost, risk involved. That is not something that the government needs to fix that. So he has a business to advise people for security. At the same time, he's advising Nigeria to how to become secure. That is a conflict of interest. Why would he want Nigeria to be secure? Otherwise, the business will go bust. And they brought him on TV to come and advise Nigerians about security. What kind of business recommends a way to kill their business? It's like, when I was watching, I'm like, who is listening to these guys? The government knows what they need to do. They campaigned on it. But when they campaign on it, they get into office, they are not going to do it. And the reason why I'm dwelling on this, because it's worth $50 billion of GDP. That's economic activity, that's employment. And when I say $50 billion, I'm talking about just the insecurity. Can you imagine if you take 2 million, create 2 million jobs in the police and the military, secret services and all the rest? They need houses, they need uniform, they need vehicles. That is economic activity that you are stimulating. Not to mention Nigerians coming back from overseas to invest in Nigeria. Now, we are not even talking about foreign investment. When you have a safe environment, you don't have to beg people to come. They will rush back. It's a massive market. So, but these people, they won't do it. And the NLC, they will just go and say, we want you to improve the security. No, tell people precisely, because when you say improve security, they will give you vague stuff. I've seen it. I've spoken to about 5 presidential candidates, and they will come and tell you that, oh, you know what, we need more training. No, that is not why your country is insecure. The reason why you don't have enough people, because when they are attacking a remote village, before you get there, it's over. 3-4 hours is over. They will start watching on TV, women, families wailing. A very sad sight to see. But they will do that and then will repeat it again. I've spoken to security officials before, and one of the things they tell you is that, oh, these people, they use motorcycle. By the time we get there, we are even worried that they are going to ambush us, and all kinds of problems. Sometimes the road is not good. It's going to take ages to get there. And you notice the places that they attack is not necessarily in the city. They tend to attack remote areas. Most of our cities are secure. It's often outskirts, smaller towns. Those are the areas that they are attacking. And this is why we have so many IDP camps. And those IDP camps are not generated from cities. They are generated from remote areas. You have whole areas where they are mining our gold and our natural resources that the government don't control. These are the kind of things the NSC should be challenging the government on, and be precise about it. Demand that that they discourage foreign this thing. This is another. Let me talk about the currency one now. The one other area they don't talk about is, why is the government not discouraging people to use a foreign currency? They are not trying to reduce the demand for foreign currency. That's what is devaluing our own naira. If you encourage people to buy local, they are not going to be buying everything overseas. So that will reduce demand for dollars and foreign currencies. If you encourage people to manufacture, do value-added manufacturing and export, that will reduce demand for foreign currency. So the pressure on your system is going to be less. Or even reduce some of the imports that are not necessary for the country. Like luxury cars. Since when is luxury car essential to the survival of a nation? Maybe the government cars that you are using, you use the locally manufactured car instead of buying so many of them from overseas. There are so many ways to reduce the demand on foreign currency. But the Tinubu say one thing about it in his speech: not at all. There are foreign hedge funds out there that are worth $1.5 trillion. Hedge funds. If you understand what hedge funds do, they bet on things failing. They bet on things losing value. And Nigerian government went and floated our currency for them to do whatever they like with it, without trying to take control of it. And the reason why they say they did it, this is the magic that they do. This is why our people need to pay attention. They said the reason why they are doing it because they have two dual exchange rates. So you went and removed it, and what we have now, we still have two dual exchange rates, but just with a devalued currency.
Wahala, it was 400, now it's 700. Black money is now over 1,002.
Is it the magic? Is it the voodoo? Let me not call it. I don't want to insult our this thing. The quack economy, this fool, traitorous economy, this will run. This is they are saboteurs. They pretend as if they are trying to help, but they are killing us slowly. Every single move they make is damaging us. Why did he not wait until our refineries came online before he started doing all these things? He could have waited for Dangote refinery to come online. They could have been updating Nigerians every week. Okay, Dangote refinery is going to come online next week. The Nigerian refinery that we are fixing, because that if they can fix the refineries and secure the country, Nigeria is going to turn like 360 degrees. Within 4 years, you will not recognize that country.
Yeah.
But you don't see them prioritizing it. The president's spokesman the other day when he was talking, he was like, people should not expect the petrol price to come down because we have our refineries working, and they are encouraging people to go and use they are encouraging people to go and use gas. That's why you encourage people to go and use gas if you are fixing the refinery.